California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell and here we are inside the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, which just happens to be one of the premier automotive museums anywhere in the country. Now I'm standing in front of, here's the sign right here, Hollywood Cars of the Stars. Richard Messer, you are the director of the Peterson, and you tell us this is one of the most popular exhibits in the museum.
Oh, it definitely is, Huell. It's everybody loves Hollywood, and no matter where you go in the world, when you say you're from Los Angeles, you're saying from Hollywood, they want to know all about it. So when they can come here, they can see the cars of the stars and really relate to Hollywood here in the museum. Cars
of the Stars, and there we are. Your first one right over here. This one was from the movie.
Yeah, this is from The Great Race. This was the Fate Mobile or something like that, and it had torpedoes. This actually works. I mean, the car goes up and down and does everything. We can't do it because of the ceiling height, but yeah, this is a car that everybody remembers from The Great Race with Tony Curtis.
You got two cars down here from a recent movie, Austin Powers.
This is Austin Powers. It's the Shaguar and the Shagmobile from the Spy Who Shagged Me. Yes, that's Austin Powers' thing.
And look over here. This is a Duesenberg, and it's a doozy too.
It is a doozy. This belonged to Billy Bojangles Robinson, and in the 20s and 30s, this is actually a 1935 model. He drove this car as a daily driver, and he was one of the most popular entertainers of the 20s and 30s out of New York City.
Wow, and here is a 1937 Jaguar formerly owned by Mel Torme. That's a beauty.
Mel Torme, oh, it is a beauty. And he loved this car, and he drove it quite often, and he had it for many, many years.
The Thunderbird, driven by Gina Davis in Thelma and Louise.
That's correct, and that's the actual Thunderbird from the movie. This one did the most miles in the movie. It's a real star in its own right.
That's a great car, and right over here we go back in time to
Fred Astaire. That's Fred Astaire's 1927 P1 Rolls Royce.
That was his personal car.
Personal car. He had it for many, many years, and we bought it out of his estate.
Wow, oh wait a minute, here's the one I like. This is The Spy Who Loved Me, 1977. This is a Roger Moore car from one of the James Bond movies.
This is a Lotus that is the one that converted into an amphibian and dove like a submarine, and a very famous part of the movie.
Look at this collection. This is wonderful. Ending up here with a 1956 Jaguar, formerly owned by Steve McQueen. How did you acquire cars like this?
Steve McQueen's estate sold a number of his items in the 60s in Las Vegas, and a friend of ours, a very good friend of the museum by the name of Richard Freshman, bought this car at that auction in Las Vegas in the 60s, and we were able to acquire the car from him approximately a year ago, and we're very happy to have it. But Steve McQueen actually drove this car on a regular basis in Hollywood.
Wow, this is an amazing collection, and we're actually just seeing the tip of the iceberg. You rotate these cars on a regular basis, right?
That's true. We have approximately 200 cars in our collection, and we have a lot of cars to the stars because we are in Hollywood and close to the studios and close to the people who own these cars. And so we're able to rotate them out on a regular basis. So if you come here today, you won't see the same cars you saw maybe 2 months ago.
The Cars of the Stars. Everybody loves those Hollywood cars. And I got to tell you, Richard, as much as we enjoyed this quick visit through your Cars of the Stars, we're not going to be content with just this. We have somewhere else we're going because we're in search of some very small, little Hollywood cars.
You've told me about that, Huell, and I'll tell you, I'm jealous. I'd like to go with you.
You know where we're going.
Oh, I do, and I'd love to be there.
You think it's going to be worth the trip?
Oh, absolutely.
Ah, good. You're piquing everybody's interest, and if you're curious as to where we're going to go and what little Hollywood cars we're going to see, as always, you're invited to come along with us as we continue our search together for California's gold. Back in the 1930s, they took Hollywood by storm. And why not? They were so unusual, so cute, so small, they grabbed your attention right away when you saw them on the screen. And they were perfect for all kinds of movie stunts. They were sturdy little cars, too, could travel through snow and mud and all kinds of conditions, and the gas mileage was phenomenal. They were called American Austins, and then the name was changed to American Bantams. They were only in production for 10 years, from 1930 to 1940. But they left behind a rich and colorful history. And to check out that history and see some little Bantams up close, we traveled to Pasadena and spent the day with Norman Booth and his friends, who collect these wonderful little cars. Okay, Norm, you know why we're here.
Yes, I do.
We are here to see little Hollywood cars. And look at this, they don't get any littler or any more Hollywood than what we're looking at right now. Hi, I'm Huell Hauser.
Dick Beagle, glad to meet you.
Dick, Norm, come on over here and tell everybody what it is we're looking at here.
Well, first of all, this is American Austin. The concept was started in England where they had smaller cars. And they said, gee, the American market should go for this. They started a company here and the Depression came. They got a little scared and backed off. So American investors said, let's us build it. They anticipated 100,000 cars a year, but they never made that.
Now, wait a minute. When was all this going on? Back in the 20s? Back in the 30s?
It started in 29, but the first produced car was 1930. By 1935, they had gone bankrupt. And one of the dealers said, gee, I'm selling the heck out of these. So he created the American Bantam.
Okay, so this is the American version of the British car. Right. That they tried to sell and the company went bankrupt.
True. The Austin is also an American car, but built in the same factory, but at a different time period. And
okay, so all of this, for those of us who are beginning to get confused about all these time periods and all of these companies, these cars were built and marketed and sold back in the 30s.
Right.
And they must have been a huge hit in Hollywood.
Hollywood went bonkers over them. Everybody had to do a gag. They showed up in the movies in gags, but that also turned out to be the demise of the car because nobody wanted to own a joke, a car that people would laugh at.
Well, what would you laugh at about this? This is a nice little car.
How'd you like to come home at night and find it standing on 4 trash cans?
Oh, people did those
yes.
kind of
on stairways.
tricks.
MIT University, they took one apart and carried it up to a classroom and put it back together again.
Well, what about the movies themselves? Come on, Norm, you're kind of holding back over here. Tell us about how they were used in the movies.
Well, the first one that I recall was a Laurel and Hardy movie called Our Wife. And that was a scene where the lady who was Babe London was eloping with Hardy. And they had a 7-minute sequence of getting in and out of one of these American Austins.
I've seen that sequence. It's amazing. It's like crowding everybody into a telephone booth. It's the same concept, isn't it?
And the car comes off the ground at the very end from all the weight.
What are the other stars who have been connected? Is this the Judy Garland car?
Yes.
Mickey Rooney car?
Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland using a car like this one, 1939 Bantam. And in the end of the movie Babes in Arms, they leave the Capitol building as the Roosevelts and get into this car.
Well, that's the picture we have of them,
right.
Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, in this very car or one just like it?
One exactly like it. The actual car was given to Judy Garland after the movie, and it's now out in the Riverside, Ontario area, but has not been restored.
But Judy Garland, actually used it as a personal car?
Yes. After the movie was completed, they gave it to her. Mickey Rooney had one as a personal car, but his was a Bantam Roadster like the car behind you.
Mm-hmm. Like this?
Yeah.
So Mickey Rooney had a personal car
Mickey
like
Rooney
this one.
had a Bantam Roadster. Pat O'Brien had a Bantam Roadster. Preston Sturgis, that we know of, had a Bantam Roadster. Mickey Rooney also had another one that they took to auto shows with autographs of all the Hollywood actors. And again, the Hollywood tie-in there.
Well, now I've seen pictures of who? Al Jolson?
Al Jolson bought the very first Austin, and he ordered it many months in advance so he could be #1 and show it off.
So Al Jolson had the very first little car
Kind of started the
in
fad
Hollywood.
Right.
And there was another picture of Buster Keaton in one of these.
A lot of pictures of Buster Keaton. We don't know if he actually personally owned the car. He had an Austin like the tan one that we first looked at. And there are pictures of he and his sons in the car. And we also have the movie where they put the car on the railroad tracks and ran over it with a train.
Oh, that was that clip where there's a whole thing where he, tries to avoid being hit by the train, and at the very end it ends up being hit by the train.
Exactly. That's called bedroom, parlor, and bath.
Now there are still pictures of the Our Gang comedy, the kids, with the little band.
And we don't know what the association is because we see them with this very pristine car. In another movie called Freewheeling, we see the Our Gang group with a homemade car. They run it down a hill and hit an Austin and roll it over on the side, and 2 midgets are jumping up and down afterwards.
So these cars were meant to have fun in.
They were meant to have fun in. The Austin, though, was meant as an economy car. They advertised that you could get 50 miles to a gallon of gas. You could go 50 miles an hour. The tires would last for as much as 40,000 miles. And they sold for as little as $299.
Wait a minute. You could get one of these cars for $299?
Well, one of these. This was a little more money.
Yeah, but look at this one. This is a beautiful car.
It's gorgeous automobile. Had leather interior. Had all the nice appointments.
$299?
Well, that was the lowest price they hit, and that was at a point where they were closing out the cars. The original price on it was $450, was where they started, and then they started coming down and down until they went bankrupt.
How many of these cars did they make? They really weren't made, but for what, about a 10-year period?
That's correct.
That's correct. Of the earlier ones, they made about 20,000, of which about 1,500 were the Roadster.
Mm-hmm.
And of the later ones, there was about 6,000 made.
And where are they all now?
Well, that's why we have clubs. And
to kind of restore them, bring them back?
And in having a club, we share the information, we share our parts and whatnot, which are becoming more and more difficult to get.
You're going to need to share some parts over here. What is this thing we got going over here?
That is a dream car to us.
Now, this is your dream car. Now, I've got it. Now, that's why, see, you're hardcore if you're looking at this and saying that's your dream car.
That's true, but the advantages are it's never had any accident damage. It's never been in foul weather. If you look underneath, it's very clean. This is the Bantam Hollywood. It's the last Bantam style that they made. It was designed here in Los Angeles by Alex Tremulous, who designed the Tucker, and they thought it was going to do great things on the market. Unfortunately, it was a little higher priced than the other cars, and being the flagship, it didn't sell too many of them.
So this was called the Bantam Hollywood because it was designed out here.
Right.
Look inside here. This is amazing. Where did you just pull this out of some shed or garage or barn or?
We got this a week ago. We've been pursuing it for.
Look at this back part of it. Oh my gosh.
We've been pursuing this car for about 10 years, and the man just wouldn't part with it. And he finally got Porsche fever and said, okay. And we went out and pulled it out of an Ontario garage.
So you're gonna totally.
And it still runs.
It's got an engine in it.
It runs like a charm, but the clutch is bad on it at the moment.
So you're gonna totally restore this.
It'll be even nicer than some of these out here.
You've collected these obviously from just about everywhere, Norm.
Yes, I have.
And over about 30 years.
Yeah. So is this the best collection of little movie cars anywhere in the world?
I don't know, but I think that there's probably as many here as there are any place in the West.
Yeah.
And
well, it's appropriate that they be here near Hollywood, not technically in Hollywood, but they really played. They were true little Hollywood cars, weren't they?
They were, and they were suited best for the warm climate because they didn't come with heaters and so forth. In the later years, they did, but when they first started out, there was no heater, a little drafty, but level roads were ideal for them. And the majority of their sales were in the Southern California area and in Miami area.
So there might be people still alive who remember seeing these little cars out on the highways of Southern California.
Well,
Without
I'm one
a
of
doubt.
those. I remember, I remember when I was 8 years old in 1930. My first view of one of these cars was in Oakland, California, and my uncle took me down, and there were so many people around you couldn't get near, so he held me up in the air, and that was my first view, looking down on a little coupe like that.
And what did you think as a kid?
Well,
Because it's almost like a kid's car.
Every kid ought to have one. Of course, I never grew up, Huell, so here we are. You know.
You mentioned kids. Kids went crazy over these, and they made there's dozens of Austin toys out there, and they're still common, old cast iron and lead toys. And the kids were just fascinated with them.
Now, talking about kids, here is the ultimate kid himself, a very young Walt Disney posing next to Mickey Mouse sitting on top of one of these little cars.
That's Mickey Mouse's first costume appearance also.
Really?
And they used the car for 3 years to publicize Mickey cartoons.
So they used a Bantam to do that.
Austin.
An Austin. I keep getting them. It's
We'll
an
always
Austin
have that
Bantam, a
confusion.
Bantam Austin, or whatever you call them.
Made in the same factory, so it's not very important.
Now, this picture goes back to had to be the 30s.
Yes, 31, probably 32.
Then we have another picture of an updated Mickey Mouse riding in one of these old cars.
Well, in addition to the Roger Rabbit cartoon spin, which looks just like a Bantam behind me here, they also have a Bantam Roadster like the green one here in Disneyland, and they use it before the parades to clear the streets, and then the parade starts behind the car.
So they're still using one of these at Disneyland.
That's correct.
Which means that literally millions of people see this little car every year and probably really don't know much about its history.
They think Disney invented it.
Well, Disney invented everything else. They might as well have invented that. Okay, it's one thing to talk about these little movie cars. It's another to look at them. And boy, Dick, they've got a good sound to them.
They're a solid sounding car. The Austin, when it came out, because it does have a noisy engine, Motor Magazine described it as a very sound design, but sounds like a Banshee with a hot foot.
A what?
A Banshee with a hot foot.
Come on out here. Let's hear this thing. Yeah, it's running good and smooth.
And your microphone's going to pick up more clattering noises than are actually heard here today. Now, the Bantam is much quieter engine because it's a little different design.
Now, the reason we're bringing this car out first, look what we've got set up here. This is a wonderful comparison, I think about right here. Dick, explain to us what's going on right here.
Okay, we're looking at the American Austin, 1931. Model A Ford, 1931, both roadsters, both in the same market. This sold for $5 less than this.
Wow.
That's one of the reasons they had problems selling, is because their price was not that much below the competition.
And you got much more car.
But this would run for less.
Yeah, less gas.
We don't want to push Fords.
Now look, this car is what, about half the size? What was the scale of the little Bantam?
It's roughly half the size. It's 10 foot long, weighs 1,200 pounds. The Ford weighs nearer 3,000 pounds.
Wow.
So you're getting twice as much metal for the money, but then you got to drag it around and buy gas for all that weight too.
Yeah. 1931, look at the comparison here.
Yep.
It is amazing.
Quite a difference.
Now we've got another, let's bring them on out, fellas. The design on this car is great too. This
The speed line on the side.
this on the side, what's that all about?
It was just a design feature, but it was copied by Duesenberg. Just a couple years, the Austin had the same side design, and Gary Cooper had a custom-built Duesenberg that looks exactly like a overgrown Austin.
So these had high design level.
They did, and the other strange thing is that the people that worked for Austin and Bantam were very noteworthy people. The man that designed the Bantam engine was Harry Miller, raced in Indianapolis. He would come to Bantam and say, "Can I use your machine shop?" "Yes, if you'll help us design an engine."
Yeah.
So it was barter because they didn't have
Very
money.
well designed cars.
Very well.
Now I hope you don't take it personally, but I want to ride in this little green car.
Well, yes.
You're in the middle of the motorcade here.
I'll ride with Ron then, okay?
Look at this. Oh, okay. You're going to ride here, and this was the littlest one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, no more than 2 people. Come on over and let's take a look in here, because this is really a two-seater, and that was it, right?
That's right. Yeah, this is a two-seater.
No more people could ever squeeze in this little thing.
No, that's true. That's true.
And how do you have room to operate in here?
Well, surprisingly, you'll find, there's quite a bit of room in them.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're gonna squeeze in. Boy, it's almost like riding a little car at an amusement park.
That's true.
Boy, listen to the sound of this. It's got a good solid sound to it. Where are we gonna go? Just around the neighborhood?
Just around the neighborhood.
Look, I'm looking up over the windshield here.
That's right. Well, the later ones had a little higher windshield, like the one ahead of us, but the early ones had the low windshield. Got to kind of scooch down in there.
All right, fellas, we're off. We're going out on a road adventure here.
Can I beat the horn?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, boy. This has a great feel to it when you're out on the street.
Yes, it is. It's really a good old fresh air, sporty feeling.
A sporty Southern California car.
That's right.
Now, we're on the little side streets around your house in your quiet little neighborhood because we can't get out on the freeway in this car, can we?
No, we can't, Huell. These cars are not freeway legal. This one is only 20 horsepower and one of the others is only 10. So they have to be at least 25 as I understand it.
How fast could we go if we wanted to? Full throttle.
Well, they advertise these as 60 miles per gallon and 60 miles per hour, but you'd really be pushing, have to have a tailwind for that.
So, really, what would people have used these for? They weren't that practical in the sense of going fast, going on long vacations.
Well, you'd be surprised. You got to go back to the time when these cars were new. During World War II, the national speed limit was only 35 miles an hour. So they fit right in, and most of these cars got worn out during World War II because of the gas rationing. They were very, very practical at that time.
So they were perfect for the war years.
Oh, yes, they were.
And they would still be practical today as long as you didn't have to get out on the freeway in them.
Yes, that's right. And they're a lot of fun to take them on the side roads. We take them on tours. We call them mini tours, though.
Well, it should be a mini tour. They're mini cars.
Mini cars, mini tours, yeah.
Is there any special driving instruction you need to learn that makes this different from driving a regular size car?
No, it has a standard 3-speed transmission, and of course it's a stick shift.
But other than that?
Other than that, it's just like driving any other car of the era.
But looking at the dashboard, it's pretty simple.
Pretty simple. That's
Nothing
right.
complicated about this car.
Nothing complicated.
Comfortable little car, isn't it?
The designers did a great job of proportioning the car, small car, but considerable amount of room in it, considering it, it is a small car. We had one of our club members has passed away. His name was Frank Cheney. He drove one of these cars 20,000 miles every year.
Oh my God.
And he took all the back roads. He drove it to Mexico City. He drove it to Canada. He drove it all the way across Canada and back down to Florida. 20,000 miles a year in one of these cars.
And what have you done? Put 750 miles on in 31 years.
753 miles in 31 years on this car.
I think you need to start hitting the road more.
Well, I have a few cars, so I have to spread the mileage around.
Oh, it's got some power.
Oh, sure, it's got the power.
This is wonderful. Everybody should have the opportunity to ride in one of these little Hollywood movie cars. Not just Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland, Al Jolson, Laurel and Hardy, our gang, Marion Davies. and all the other stars who've ridden in them, Mickey Mouse, over the years.
Yes, it's a real, real pleasure to own these cars, and we take good care of them, and they'll be here long after we're gone, Huell.
And I tell you what, they may be little, just about a half or a third as big as a normal car, but there's no question about it, these little movie cars are fine examples of California's gold. Goodbye, everybody. We have had a great day.
Yes, we have. Thanks again, Huell.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.